And back for another edition of Football in Focus, Shane's Rib Shack on a Thursday night. Good to have you back along tonight, getting set for the show. Got Coach Bill Slayton with us, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about some things we've got on our mind tonight as we get set for tonight's show. Later on, some Southeast Guilford Falcon football players are coming in. But first of all, Coach Bill Slayton with us. Coach Slayton, good to see you every couple of weeks. Always good to see you, Coach.
Always good to see you.
Hope you're doing good.
Always. You do such a good job for these young people.
Good shape for, like, what, 81 years old now?
82.
82.
4th of July.
Wow. Great shape. Still working out quite a bit.
I still work out 4 days a week. Yes, I do.
4 days a week?
Yes, I do.
What kind of schedule do you have? Is it any particular day order?
Well, I do usually the same things to try to keep my body moving and going.
Do you do like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah, I have a different schedule for different things I do. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Oh, you do Saturday, huh?
Yeah, I do Saturday.
Do you go to the fitness center on Saturday, too?
Yeah.
Good regular schedule?
All 4 days, yes, sir.
Good schedule. Yeah. Let's get to your old buddy Jim Modlin. Jim Modlin passed away about a year ago this month, and thought we would bring Jim Modlin's name up tonight. Give us what do you remember about Big Jim?
Oh, well, first thing I remember when he was a young high school kid, running up and down the basketball courts at Ragsdale where he played. And then I didn't hear from him for a long time. Then I ran into him again when I first started lifting over at Old Living Well, weightlifting, and he was over there. And we followed each other, I guess, the whole time through Fitness Today and down to sport time, the Goals and Sport Time.
Down to Goals Gym?
Yeah, and he was a mess. He always pick at you, but he was a people person.
Good communicator.
Enjoyed being around him.
But what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of Jim?
Well, first he's an imposing figure, being as tall as
big, huh? Yeah.
And you knew that he played ball, and you would always talk about that. But you could talk with him a while. He would pick at you most of the time, some, and he was always just outgoing young man, and that was a
good personality, right?
You enjoyed being around.
You and your wife got along good with him, right?
Yeah, yes, we did.
Had a lot of fun with Jim.
Yes, we did, and didn't go out with him or anything, but he knew her really well. He called him Miss Coach, and he knew her pretty well.
Hey man, he's gone now, but he's still a big part of your life.
We think about him all the time. The other day we were talking about that. She always said, "I miss Big Jim calling."
You know what I put down as my favorite memory of Big Jim was the green Ford Taurus station wagon. That station wagon had a lot of trips up and down the highway. He and I did on those ball games, going to East Carolina, down in Greenville for like high school regional games, and going to Raleigh and Chapel Hill and Winston-Salem, and even up to Granite Falls. Made a trip up there, Rowan County, all down to southern Durham, everywhere.
We went to the Southeast baseball playoff at Raleigh.
You sure did.
Beat us down there.
That was a good trip.
Yes, it was. I enjoyed that very much.
Didn't turn out that great for Southeast, but it was a good trip.
No, it was a good trip. It really was.
What about from Big Jim's standpoint now? Do you hear any more around the community about people still conversation about Big Jim? The word's still out there?
Down at the gym, you'll see it all the time. You'll hear him all the time. And James, the manager now, he said, "I miss him, Coach." I said, "Well, a lot of people do." And there'll be someone come by and say something about Jim. You don't go through there until he's mentioned during the day.
Had a good tight family. Had his sister and his brother-in-law. He and his brother-in-law were real tight. And had his girlfriend Bobby, who was with him real close at the very end.
Yes, they were.
I can almost tell it was a Thursday night when he had his funeral service about a year ago tonight. It was on a Thursday because he did the Shane's Rib Shack show here on Westover Terrace, the great Shane's Rib Shack food. Left here early that night, went over to High Point Road at the Haynes Lineberry Sedgefield Chapel, and the service just a packed building on that night.
Yeah, it was standing room only.
Standing room only. Yeah. I tell you, it was about as busy there, kind of a comparison to looking back toward Coach Callahan down at Southeast.
Yeah, that's true. We're losing a lot of our people.
Somebody told me it's not a good idea to go into retirement. That's what Coach Scott Loosemore was here a couple weeks. Do you remember Loosemore, don't you?
Yes,
used to be at Southeast as a player, assistant coach there, and also spent some time at Eastern Guilford. Scott Loosemore, head coach, he was saying he had talked to Coach Tommy Norwood about when Coach Norwood was going to retire, and then Coach Norwood had told him may not be a good idea to retire. So when the guys retire, it doesn't seem to go too good afterwards. Might be better to keep working.
I hope Tommy does, and he's one of the better coaches in this state, and I love seeing him coach.
Speaking about those coaches, Talk some more about Big Jim in a few minutes. Keep that moving here with Coach Bill Slayton, Shane's Rib Shack, Westover Terrace. Just a hypothetical situation. I know you used to have those back when you were coaching. They bring these up to you guys talking about, what about if such as that? What about, let's say they name the Western Guilford Football Stadium the Doug Henderson Stadium. What do you think? Should it be named the Doug Henderson Stadium? A lot of talk. They got a school board meeting tonight. It started at 6 p.m. about 10 minutes ago down on Eugene Street, not too far from Shane's Rib Shack downtown. School board meeting, Guilford County Board of Education, led by Alan Duncan, chairman, and Amos Quick and Darlene Garrett, others. Just a few names rattle off of the school board members. They're going to talk about that tonight. But the main point going in, the group is going to address the school board about naming it possibly the Joe Robinson Stadium. But another group is interested in it being the Doug Henderson Stadium, since Coach Henderson at Western Guilford, the football coach, when he was there, he won a state championship, had a lot of success. You hate to see maybe an argument ensue or a battle develop, but again, a lot of people feel like it should be more so that it should end up being the Doug Henderson Stadium. It seems like it fits better.
I would have to say that either one of them would be an excellent choice. I know both Joe Robinson, I know Doug, and both of them would be excellent choices. And if you had to say anything, I would hate to choose. I don't know what to choose between.
But either, especially,
they both did very well.
What about if we called it the Doug Henderson Stadium and had like the Joe Robinson Field? Or somebody mentioned today, this thing really gets stretched out a little bit. They talk about today, you should probably call it the Doug Henderson Stadium with the Bill Hollifield Field. You remember Bill Hollifield, his defensive man?
Wrestling coach also.
Put a lot of time in over there, and then you had Joe Robinson, so maybe the Doug Henderson Stadium, Bill Hollifield Field, and then possibly the Joe Robinson training facility. Try to get them all involved. It's hard to satisfy everybody, isn't it? Hard to keep everybody happy.
It would be difficult.
It worked at Southeast, because I'll be headed down that way tomorrow night in Southeast. When I walk in there, now the first thing that usually catches my eye when I look up toward that stadium, up toward that press box, I see Bill Slayton Stadium, named after the man right here.
Well, I appreciate that.
It really looks good. It stands out.
I'm humbling, and there are so many coaches are deserving of that type of thing, and I don't know where I fit in there. I hope somewhere.
It does make you feel good, though, doesn't it? To be remembered.
It's an humbling experience.
Yeah.
It's probably the highlight of what you do in the profession to be thought of.
How many years did you coach football at Southeast?
I was at 18 years.
18 years.
18 years, and coached baseball 8 of those years.
What about if Tony Barnhart, let's change the subject a little bit. Doug Henderson Stadium fits, if that's what they decide. If they go with Joe Robinson, Coach Slayton says that'll work for him too, no problem there. He knew both those men pretty well. If Tony Barnhart, CBS Sports, also Atlanta Journal-Constitution, could be here today, what would you two talk about? Say Tony Barnhart was here today. What would you? He was a good friend of yours back in the day when he was here in town with the News Direct. What would you guys be talking about?
We became very good friends. Usually you can become a good friend to a writer, sports writers. They try to help you out a lot. But he liked Georgia, and somewhere along the University
Georgia Bulldog, okay.
He has written, I saw this on, my wife recently pulled it up. He has written 5 books, all of them in some way dealing with University of Georgia.
It's a pretty smart move. I remember our old sports writer here in town, Al Tommy. You remember Al Tommy years ago,
yes,
used to be here.
Yeah.
He was kind of like that with Georgia Tech. He read a couple of books about Pepper Rogers and about Georgia Tech. So Tony Barnhart's big into the Georgia Bulldogs.
Lad Balkin, he was a friend also. He was a big Carolina fan. Now he went from here to the University of Chapel Hill as a sports editor there. So he and Walt Riddle went to the University of South Carolina when Dietzel was down there.
I remember Paul Dietzel pretty well, yeah.
He was another. Walt was an excellent writer. At one time, they had one of the best group of sports writers you could find anywhere.
At the News and Record?
Yes.
Talked to some woman here recently.
Bill Hass.
Bill Hass, he's retired now.
Yeah, and Meyer Anthony was there.
Had a guy there too. I don't know if you remember this guy's name or not.
Was there at one time.
Yeah, Drexel was a good high school writer. Went on to A&T, works on there with this gentleman, Moses Crutchfield. Crutchfield was there.
Now, I don't remember
Crutchfield or not. He was there back in the day. He had Crutchfield, Smith Barrier, Al Tommy.
Smith Barrier was
pretty good too, yeah.
Yes, he was. We had 2 newspapers then, and so there was always a great exposure for high school football.
Had the afternoon paper and the morning paper. Which one did you?
I would take both.
Which one did you read? Which one did you subscribe to?
Well, to both of them because they were both good, and you find out things about the community and what goes on. And
you got the both papers back then?
Yes, you did.
Read that afternoon paper when you got home from school, got home from work.
Yeah, sure did. And Yes.
Did you make the paper a few times back in the day?
Oh, once or twice. I don't know why. Once or twice.
But you and Barnard had a pretty good relationship, though.
Well, I thought I had a good relationship with all of them. But Tony in particular, I met him. But he was up here. He was out of Georgia country, and you could tell he was going on to bigger things. You know.
Yeah, he was here in town that time. I think you've talked about this before with us in our football discussions. When he was in the East-West All-Star game that year, covering the game, he actually put the uniform on and got into the game and trained with the players and was, I guess, prepared to play if called upon. He went through the whole practice session. One of the sports writers wearing all the football equipment out. We went through all the drills, all the practices, did everything. Got about as close to it as you could.
He did, and I think Doug Henderson was coaching that year.
Wow.
Doug coached that year, and he was with him. Yes,
you must have helped Barnhart get ready for that then.
He came down the lift a little bit, but not that much. We were friends, but he was friends with a lot of people. You know, he
got along good with everybody.
Yeah.
You could tell he was on his way up.
Yes, he was, and Wilt Browning was here, and he later, you know, he went back to Atlanta. She said, I think Tony followed him later on.
Yeah, gotcha. You said again your first season at Southeast was what year?
63.
63. Football coach 1963, 64. 64. What do you remember back about that year, back in those days?
Oh, well, I agreed 19 people coming out for football.
How many?
19.
19 turned out.
And we won 2 ball games that year. They'd had a streak of 30-some losses. And we were fortunate enough to win the first 2, but we didn't win any after that. And then next year we moved up to 3A ball. And our program got about 30 kids out, and we were 1-8-1. And then the next year we went 5-5, and we never came under that after that.
Wow.
That was because we got good kids. That's the thing I attribute most to that. We got good athletes.
I was talking to Coach Norwood probably back late August, talking about the first game of the regular season. Talked to him one night, asked him about, because that was the night the new coach at Grimsby was taking over his first head coaching job. First game ever was against Ragsdale. Coach Norwood asked Coach Norwood, do you remember back your first game ever? He said, sure do. He said that was back, and I think they played maybe Southern Guilford and beat them like 8-6. 8-6, a win for him at Southeast back in the day.
That may have been as tough as any school that Southeast plays. That was a blood battle.
Boy.
It was I don't know, the kids lived beside of each other.
Right.
Down Randleman Road. And,
districts were real close together.
Yes, and it was just a hotbed of competition between the two. I mean, if you won that game, you had bragging rights for a year.
I think he said the second game he played, he won the second one also, just like you did, but then maybe after that, things went downhill a little bit. He said he definitely remembers the first 2. Never forget those as long as you live. You remember the first team you went up against that very first game? Back in 1964? East Stokes High School.
East Stokes, and one team. They had been the state champions 2 years before that.
Wow.
Then the next game I do remember well was over at the orphanage over at Winston-Salem.
Gotcha.
What's the name of it?
The Boys and Girls Home? I know you're talking about,
and we played in the afternoon.
Wow.
And you talk about a tough bunch of
It's a bunch of tough kids.
Good gracious.
I'm going to use this line later on during the night, but I heard a good line on the broadcast somewhere, some broadcast a while back. He says, it's amazing. You talk about the Boys and Girls Home, some of those kids come from some broken families, some tough homes. This gentleman said, it's amazing in the United States how the people, especially out in the country, the people in the country have to do this pretty much. Even in the city, I guess, if you have a dog, they say we tire up our dogs, we let the kids run wild. Interesting comment, right?
That was very, but you could feel it when you walked in there, and they had been a good ball club for years. Now, when we came into the mid-state, that was probably as tough a league as
Mid-state 3A.
Yes, it was. You had Fred Brady down to Eastern Guilford, and Jim Stout, Pete's brother, was at Western, and it was Graham. We had Bobby Boswell, Coach Graham.
Boy, that's where Coach Boswell, he started at.
He started there, and from there
worked his way up. He ended up in High Point Andrews one time, didn't he?
High Point Andrews won a state championship there, and then he became a legend up in Kannapolis.
Kannapolis, right? Wow, big time, Bob Boswell.
Bob, he's a legend in this state.
Would you ever see these old coaches these days? Guys like these?
I see Don Kirk. Not any that I've coached recently. I see Don Kirkpatrick of Granite Falls, I see him occasionally, who I consider to be probably one of the best coaches around.
What about these coaches around the area? C.K. Seiler, Doug Henderson, see those guys?
I haven't seen C.K. in several years. I see them at the clinic occasionally over there.
You told me one time, I think Seiler, yourself, and Coach Doug Henderson, about the 3 oldest remaining coaches from this old conference.
I think in the old Guilford conference, yeah, they were. That was it.
So you think about that. I mean, you said, I talked to you about this one time. You're probably one of the older ones. I think you said even Coach Seiler might be a year or 2 older than you.
I think CK is maybe 2 years. I'm sure he'll see me about that. If he hears that. He did tell me he was older than I was.
Now, he was a good coach back in his day.
He had been here for several years. Yes.
Where did he come in here from? You any idea?
I think he played at Elon. I don't know where. I don't know his hometown. I have no idea about that. And Doug came from down east.
Yeah, he was down around East Bladen.
Yeah.
Doug Henderson, though, came out of North Carolina, Chapel Hills, where he went to college.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he played there or not, but he was around the team some. And back in those days, that's Doug Henderson. But even within his time back at North Carolina, his nickname was the Tick.
Yeah.
There he is. Doing okay? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And of course, Dick Kemp.
Right.
He's an excellent high school coach. Very good high school.
You remember the Rivenbarks? You remember them? Southeast, Lester Rivenbark. Remember those guys back in the day?
Now, how long ago now?
It's been a little while back, yeah. A little while back.
So I don't know.
That was Mr. Rivenbark just popped in there. Lester Rivenbark, Sr.'s son, Lester Jr., played baseball here locally back in the day. But you and Henderson had some pretty good battles over the years.
Well, yeah, that was a good competitive ball game. And the thing I enjoyed about coaching these coaches is that you had to be ready to play because they presented a good program out there for you. And they did well, and they trained their kids well, and they taught them well, and they played well.
Now these stadiums, we talked about maybe naming the stadium Doug Henderson Stadium. They got the Bill Slayton Stadium in the Southeast. Over Page got the Marion Kirby Stadium. Over Grimm's they got the Bob Jamison Stadium. Out at Northeast Guilford got the Bill Bookhouse Stadium. Did you come in contact with some of those guys over the years?
Well, CK's stadium's named after him.
Yeah, Mr. Seiler too. What about Kirby, though? You came in contact with him, did you? Marion Kirby?
Marion and I met him years ago when I was down here. And he's from just about 7 miles from Hickory. And I got to know him.
He's up around Granite Falls then. Yeah.
Went to Lenore Ryan where my wife went, and I was always picking at him about that. But he and Kemp both came out of that. Both were All-American. And Marion was a good football player. He was a center. I didn't know him that well, but I'd heard a lot about him before he got up here. And then when I found out he was from Hickory, we got to know each other. But I consider him maybe 4 state champions.
Wow.
That may be as good as you will see coach around here.
Around here, but I tell you the one guy.
Anywhere around here.
What about, it's kind of crazy. What do you think about this Northern Guilford team? They won 3 in a row, and now they're 4-0 to start this year. They got that one, Northern Guilford Nighthawks. How about those guys?
Well, it's called a program. You build a program, it survives.
Yeah.
And the coach preceding him did a great job of building the program.
Roscoe, yeah.
This young man is doing the same thing.
Coach Brian Thomas,
and the thing is not to change too much. What's been successful, you can't
What about that program down at Charlotte Independence, that Tom Knotts? Remember Tom Knotts just had championship, had Chris Leak, C.J. Leak, had all those great quarterbacks down at Independence? How about that program?
But, well, that was a heck of a program. Now, I don't know what happened later on, that was down there. Some talk about some people playing there. I don't know what the situation was.
Right.
He put on a good run. Yes, he did. But he had some athletes.
He did.
Now, Dave Harris is the man that I met and think a lot of. He was involved with the Shrine Bowl.
Right.
And he coached at they had Central and Harding when they only had 2 high schools in Charlotte, and I can remember that
2 high schools in Charlotte, just 2.
Well, this was back in the 40s now, the 50s. But he coached back then, and he was an exceptional coach. And I can remember a young man, Chris Justice, came down to play for us.
Chris Justice, I remember his name.
And his father was an All-American high school ball player and went to Duke University and played behind, bless his heart, he was a good athlete, but he played behind Sonny Jurgensen.
Right.
And I met Dave that way, and we talked about Marion an awful lot. And so he was a good ball player. Marion, but I always talk about how great Dave Harris was.
I'd say that Chris Justice, and he was a good ball player at your place.
He played fullback.
What did he play, running back?
Played fullback and linebacker. And he
I think I remember going against him. What years was he there, probably?
He would have been there in the 70, 71, 72.
71, 72?
And he went to when Sonny Randall was at East Carolina.
Yeah,
and Chris played in the east of the
north-south game, right?
Down at
East Carolina.
Greenville.
Yeah, Greenville, yeah.
And he played in that game. And he started, they made a linebacker out of him, and he played about a year or two, and I don't know what happened down there after that.
So you've had some good talent you run into over the years.
Well, you have to have. I always say that I had good athletes that overcame poor coaching and did a great job.
Weird thing about this, kind of a crazy thing about what you do, that you're a very good football coach. I would say outstanding football coach, but you may have a few games left in you. I'm not sure you may coach some more. You never know. But you're an outstanding football coach. Let's call you that. But you're a baseball man too. What about these Atlanta Braves? I know you're still keeping up with them. That's kind of your outlet right now. Is baseball on TV, watching the Atlanta Braves.
Well, I still watch football. Baseball I played also. I played that in college, and I enjoyed that. But the situation I had, I was athletic director, and you taught back then 5 classes, and it was getting to be too much, and I gave the football up.
Just let it go.
It's kind of tough to do. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it's also something of people don't realize how difficult baseball is. You're coaching 9 people, and one person can make it.
Well, how about your Braves, though?
Well, I pull for them, but I get awfully exasperated with them at times. I wonder about how much you don't see the fundamentals you saw in high school when we came along with things. They do it on talent, you know, and they got an awful
Who's the most impressive player on their team this year?
Well, this Gaddis kid who came along, he's been around, he's an older fella. But Freeman and this Medlin, who's had Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
The shortstop by far is Simmons. He is one of the better kids you will see. Johnson has come out of nowhere, and he's been first or second at hitting all year.
But you're liking it pretty good. You like their chances in the playoffs?
I hope so. If they're pitching and I don't worry about the pitching and relief pitching, but hitting has not been good for the last week or two.
What about the managing? How's it going since Bobby Cox stepped down? You impressed with Freddie Gonzalez?
Considering what he's done and pressure on him, he seems to have done a great job with him.
Yeah.
And he was under Bobby, so I guess.
What kind of chance do you give them in the playoffs?
You know, they beat both of these teams handily in the regular season when they played them out of the East Conference into the Central. But the Cardinals get very tough like San Francisco.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's got a pretty good pitching staff.
How about those Pittsburgh Pirates? It's been a long time since they've been around, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, 20-some years.
And they got a fella that plays center field pretty well for them too, doesn't he? He's got his name. He's all-star.
Oh, yeah, McCutcheon. Played for West Virginia Power. Andrew McCutcheon, yeah.
He's got the whole game.
He used to play for West Virginia when they played the Grasshoppers here years ago.
Did he?
Yeah, saw him when he came through Greensboro, yeah. Andrew McCutcheon. Well, back in the day, the Pirates had Willie Stargell, Manny Sangui, and all those guys. That was a fun team to watch back in the day.
They were.
Yeah. Remember Danny Murtaugh, their old manager years ago, Danny Murtaugh?
Lord, I go way back to, he was the fellow that was Dick, the All-American basketball player that was shortstop for years,
Dick Grote.
Dick Grote.
Yeah.
And no one knew that he was that kind of an athlete.
Oh, boy,
he played, what, 15, 16 years?
He sure did.
Shortstop.
He sure did.
And played with a little second baseman that beat the Yankees. Home run.
Let's get back to one more thing before we start to wind it down with Coach Slayton here tonight at Shane's Rib Shack on this Football in Focus Thursday night. Got some Southeast Guilford Falcons coming in a little bit later tonight. Got Dennis White's going to check in with us in a few minutes. And back to those workouts again. What do you do during your workouts to keep you in such good shape? You're like 82 years old. You're still moving pretty well.
You work the parts. You work your legs for a portion of time. You work your upper body. You work your arms. And at my age, you don't go in and do the big stuff like you used to. You tone it down quite a bit, but I just feel like that's kept me somewhat fit over the years. And I recommend it to anyone.
Keeps you in pretty good shape then.
And I would definitely recommend it for young high school athletes coming out. Most teams have weight programs now.
Who set your program up? Did you pick up a program up at the Sports Center, or did you set up your own?
I had my own program. I had lifted for years. When I was in high school, I lifted all that time before I ever joined the sports club. That came after I retired.
So you still do some lifting now?
Oh, I do all of the bench press. I do bench press.
What do you do for the old? That's the strength and conditioning. Then what do you do for the cardiovascular?
Well, I walked. I was walking. I've laid off some, but I try to walk 4 or 5 miles a day.
Yeah. Do you do that at home?
I do it around the house.
Right. That's good. That's good. That's good stuff.
That's part of it. But I get a little bit of fitness in my workout when I do practice.
Let's look back at Jim Modlin one more time. What do you think? What was Jim's favorite food? You used to eat some lunches and stuff with him.
I can't remember. He could wolf down most things.
Pretty big guy.
He was a pretty good eater.
But he used to enjoy a lot of hot dogs. He was a pretty big hot dog man. If you could find a good hot dog.
He loved hot dogs. Now that is one thing for sure. And the one thing he would always do, he would say, "Coach, you gonna listen to us? You know your football and baseball night." He said, "You gonna listen to us tonight?" And I said, "I'll try to." And he would always want me to critique you too.
Yeah, find out what he was up to.
It tickled him to death when I would say, "Now you know," I said, "you two are really becoming." Well, you're beginning to blend together, and you did. I thought you presented a good program to two of them. I know you missed it.
Oh yeah. How about his favorite teams?
I can't remember that.
I would say East Carolina and Ragsdale.
Oh, right. He loved East Carolina. He would go down, but when he went down there, I never went with him. But they say when he went down there, that it was like going with Rockstar or something. They all remember.
They all knew him.
He has a lot of records from East Carolina that have never been broken.
A lot of basketball records.
And they weren't in a conference a couple of years, and they played big-time teams that I don't know if they said UCLA, but they played big-time teams, South Carolina.
And they played South Carolina with John Roach, Tom Owens, and Reebok, and Riker, and Joyce, and Crimmins. All those guys were on there.
He competed, and he did pretty well in the ABA.
ABA, yeah.
And one lesser thing that people know, I don't know if they know, he taught a few years in junior high.
You did, down in the eastern part of the state, I think.
Yeah, now they say that I think it's a waste that he didn't continue that.
I think he coached a little bit too, didn't he? Help out coaching?
Yes, he did. I don't know how much or where, but I know he did.
How about Ragsdale? I know he was a big Ragsdale man too. Ragsdale, big Ragsdale. Loved his Ragsdale. He used to love to go back over there.
Oh, he went over. He liked Tommy Noel. He'd go back and see Tommy an awful lot. And he enjoyed being with him, and he always Ragsdale. If you talk about that, I always talk about you went to the wrong school. You know,
yeah.
But he was he was here when athletics were beginning to take off in the '60s.
Well, if he would have been around today with his size, he could have really made a big impression,
couldn't he? He could have. Yes, he could have.
The way the exposure you get these days with all these TV promotions and radio and things like that.
You say you're having Southeast up next?
Southeast is coming up after Dennis. I think Dennis is coming in next.
Fritz?
I don't think Fritz will be here. He's probably going to go to the JV game, I imagine.
Okay. Well, you tell them to continue what they're doing. I'm very proud of them this year.
Think there's any chance you might get down to see him tomorrow night?
I hope to. If I go, it'll probably be there. If I go anywhere, it's with them to see them.
Yes, I got you. I know you've been loyal to those guys for a long, long time.
You know, you get to see Southern Guilford. You see some teams that you used to coach against.
Yeah.
That's enjoyable. But you tell them I wish them well. I'm very proud of what they've done.
4-0 start. They got a chance to go 5-0 if they can win tomorrow night.
Yes, they do. And if they continue, they may have a good shot at doing something this year. I think so. They worked awfully hard this year from what I've heard. I don't know.
They had a good off season. You saw that article in the paper about him today, right?
Yeah, I read that. And it was very interesting article, a good article. When you have kids like that talking about the team and about how everybody's bought into it, that's a good sign.
Good sign.
I hope they do very well this year.
Well, listen, I'm going to let you get rolling. Appreciate you taking the time. We do this about once a year.
Thank you for inviting me.
You go ahead and start making plans for next year, okay?
Okay, take care. Man.
You got it, Coach. Thank you.
Yes,
appreciate you, Coach Bill Slayton, with us tonight here at Shane's Rib Shack. Got Dennis White's going to come in next. Got the Southeast players coming soon, coming down the highway. I bet they're on the way here right now, looking for those guys down the road. Southeast Guilford Falcons. Coach, keep working hard, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Thank you, my man.